Ben-Hur, the 2016 edition. This is actually the 6th on-screen adaptation of Ben-Hur. I'm convinced that every 30 years or so, we're going to get a new Ben-Hur. In like 80 years, there's going to be Ben-Hur 3000, and it's going to star Dracula. I guarantee it. It's going to happen. And Morgan Freeman will be in that one too. Somehow. I don't know. But if you know anything about this story, it's about two men who grow up as basically brothers. They're not blood brothers, but they are that close. And eventually they become enemies because one is a Jew and one joins the Roman army. But not just enemies because they're on different sides of a war. These guys are bitter, bloodthirsty rivals. So when our hero, Judah Ben-Hur, played by Jack Huston, is sold into slavery, becomes one of those guys that has to row a boat for 5 years getting whipped, he sets out on a path of revenge to find his former friend, played by Toby Kebbell, and kill him. This version of Ben-Hur has a trailer that is laughably awful. I watched it, I saw Morgan Freeman in those dreadlocks, and I died laughing. I had no anticipation for this movie at all, and I left surprisingly entertained. Is this a great movie? No. Is it better than the most famous 1959 adaptation? No. It is, however, a competent film, with mostly well-directed scenes and very good acting, especially from Jack Huston and Rodrigo Santoro, who plays Jesus in this film, and his scenes were actually surprisingly effective. So if you're just going to this film to have some fun, and you don't care that much about the original, and it doesn't bother you that this is yet another remake that we're getting, you'll probably be able to watch this new version of Ben-Hur and have a good time, because for the most part, it's a competently made film with really good acting. But as I said in my review for the newest Ghostbusters movie, the way I judge movies that are remaking something or another adaptation of something is, does it really have a reason to exist beyond taking a name that you know and hopefully making some money off of it? Is there something this movie does better than the other versions? Is there a reason to justify its existence beyond making some money? I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't riveted by the finale chariot race. There were parts of this movie where I thought, okay, that's really good. You definitely want to see Judah Ben-Hur succeed in what he's trying to do. You feel behind him in that way because Jack Huston does give a very good performance in this movie. Toby Kebbell, though, didn't really sell the conflicted nature that his character has. He was a little one note for me in this film. Most of the emotion in the movie just fell flat for me. There wasn't that part where I felt like I was being swept away or I was being awe-inspired by amazing emotion. I just didn't really feel it. The emotional core of this movie was just kind of hollow for me, and it really didn't do much of anything better than the original 1959 version. And despite the fact that this movie does have some impressive action scenes and some impressive stunts, it's still not as awe-inspiring as the things they were able to accomplish in the original version, because not only was that long ago, but it just looked more real. And that brings me to my biggest issue with this movie. Unfortunately, it's the directing style of the action sequences. It's very jittery, very shaky, mostly entirely handheld, which made the 3D experience of this movie truly headache-inducing. I actually went home from this movie, took some Excedrin. I got a bad headache from the 3D of this movie because it's just not a style that lends to what 3D can do for a movie. It's just too much. And I don't usually have these types of reactions to things like this. I rarely get headaches from 3D. I rarely get motion sickness of any kind, but this movie had that effect on me. And I'm not going to downgrade the film for that for one specific reason. You can see it in 2D. And if you see it in 2D, you probably won't have the terrible experience that I had with the 3D. So I would recommend seeing it in 2D if you decide to see it. This is a good-looking movie mostly, a well-acted movie mostly. Morgan Freeman does look hilarious in those dreadlocks, but he is pretty good in the movie. The movie is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was surprisingly efficient. It's a competent movie, but it just doesn't really do much to justify its existence beyond being Ben-Hur, and it's a name you've heard of and you might buy a ticket to it. I'm gonna give Ben-Hur a C+. Not a terrible movie, better than I thought it was going to be, but still, it's just not quite there emotionally, and that's really important in this story. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Stay tuned this Sunday because I'm going to be continuing my series of Harry Potter reviews. I already did Sorcerer's Stone, and this Sunday is going to be Chamber of Secrets. You guys are the best. Thank you so much once again for watching, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.